I want to welcome you to the 11th Annual Scholarship Partners Breakfast. I'm Joyce Adams, Chair of the HCC Foundation Board of Directors. It's my pleasure to serve as your Mistress of Ceremonies this morning. I want to thank you for coming and supporting HCC and its students, many of whom are here today. Dr. Ken Atwater has been president of HCC since 2010. His leadership and enthusiasm for all things HCC are infectious. His dedication to the importance of community has helped to more clearly define the college's role in the Tampa Bay area. The foundation is proud to be his partner in helping to build a stronger college. We're very large. You know we have more than 50,000 students. I think more than 55,000, isn't that right?
No, we're not quite at 55.
Almost, and we will be soon.
Yes, we will.
Please welcome Dr. Ken Atwater.
Thanks, Joyce. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good. Hey, let me also extend my thanks for you joining us at our annual scholarship breakfast this morning. There are two things about this breakfast that we really like, and I can tell you what they are. First of all, it's an opportunity for us to say thank you. Thank you to our donors. And the reason why we say thank you because you basically change our students' lives. And I'm going to make a few brief comments about how your support impacts HCC. And the second thing is that I love coming to the scholarship breakfast because you'll have an opportunity to hear some outstanding stories from some of our students. Just think about it, and I'm going to cheat just a little bit if you don't mind. I had a chance to talk to Elizabeth just a few minutes ago, and believe me, Elizabeth is not the typical person you would think would be a firefighter. And you'll get a chance to hear a story and how HCC is making a difference in her life. But that wouldn't be possible without your support. Before we begin this morning, as always, let me say thank you to a group of people that have joined us this morning. First of all, let me say thank you to our sponsors this morning. I'm sure people are here from Suncoast Credit Union and Holmes Hefner Architectural Firms. Would you please stand? Let's recognize them for their sponsorship and thank you. In addition to that, I'd like to recognize a couple other people. First of all, my father taught me a long time ago, Ken, always recognize your bosses, right? People you work for. And that's everybody at HCC. If I talk to them, they all tell me that we boss Ken Atwater around, and they do, and I don't mind. But there are a group of people who are 5 volunteers that are appointed by the governor to serve as our college board of trustees. They dedicate their time and efforts to ensure that the college policies and procedures are accurate, but more importantly, they ensure that the college is reaching its goal of serving this community well. And we're pleased to have one of our trustees this morning, Ms. Marty Buckman. Ms. Buckman, please stand. One of the things that the college prides itself on is partnerships and collaborative efforts. And there's no better partner than the County Commission for HCC. We're real pleased to have an HCC alumnus from the County Commission, Commissioner Hagan. Ken, thank you for being here. Please stand and be recognized. And the last person I'd like to recognize is that I'm sure most of you knew my predecessor, Dr. Gwen Stevenson. One of the things that I always say that Gwen built a foundation of HCC that we're living on today. And most of you know that Gwen passed recently, but her legacy will live forever at HCC. We're pleased that her husband is here with us. Steve, would you stand and be recognized? Again, we want to say thank you. As Joyce said, we serve currently, Joyce, over 46,000 students and growing, but more than half of those students require some kind of financial assistance. We have a philosophy at HCC. We do not want a financial barrier to prevent people from pursuing higher education. Because of your help and your support, you help remove that barrier. In other words, you change students' lives. And this morning, you will have an opportunity to hear from two of those students that had an impact. Again, we want to say thank you. Thank you for being here, but more importantly, thank you for being our partner at HCC. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. You did? Yeah. I see Mike. Mike just walked in, and hey, Mike from the City Council, Mike Soros. Okay, I know. Hey, again, thank you for being in here, but on behalf of our students, thank you for your support.
I would like to introduce my fellow directors, my cohorts on the HCC Foundation, and I know Marty Buckman has already been introduced. She serves as the liaison from the trustees, and we have appreciated all of her help and hard work. Gary Van from Suncoast, and I don't, Chris Brown, you're going to hear from him soon. And unless I missed someone, I think the rest are in transit. I'd also like for the faculty and staff who are here this morning to stand. They are truly the backbone of HCC, and please talk to them, any questions you may have, ask them what's going on their particular campus. And please, let's begin our breakfast, and I'm going to introduce our next speaker. This morning, we're going to hear from a young woman who represents the very best of HCC. She exemplifies the importance of the Foundation's robust scholarship program and the reason we're committed at the HCC Foundation to raising funds to support it. While the story you will hear from Elizabeth Ely is hers alone for sure, it's representative of the many scholarship recipients at HCC. Each have their own version of how your generosity has helped to change their lives. Last year, the Bloomingdale Volunteer Fire Department gave the Foundation the single largest scholarship gift in the Foundation's history. It was $280,000. Elizabeth received one of the first scholarships awarded from the fund. I think you will agree that she was a worthy selection. Please join me in welcoming Elizabeth to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Ely, and I received the Bloomingdale Volunteer Fire Department Scholarship. This scholarship paid $2,000 towards my tuition, books, and gear for the Fire Academy. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was raised by my father since I was 11 years old. I always considered myself to come from a broken family. My mother is an alcoholic, which led to my parents' divorce, and my older siblings became involved with drugs at a young age. They both did not graduate high school. Growing up, I remember my dad always working in order to support us. My father owns a small tool store, and he'd sometimes be at work 7 days a week until about 11 o'clock at night. I was always very active in sports, gymnastics, track and field, flag football, baseball, and swimming. I played the violin in the school orchestra until the 8th grade. I loved going to school, but I was never a straight-A student. Being a first-generation college student was not easy. I never understood what college even was until about high school. I found it difficult to sign up for the SAT and apply to different colleges because I didn't have any guidance. I also had difficulties signing up for scholarships and financial aid because I was saddled with many responsibilities, and most of my friends had their moms taking care of this for them. When I was 17, I last minute decided to drive to Tampa and try out for the USF cheerleading team, and I made it. So summer 2010, I started college and was a full-time student at USF in St. Pete. Thanks to bright futures, grants, loans, 3.5 years later, I now have a bachelor's degree in public health and only $13,000 in student loan debt. That's pretty good. Immediately afterwards, I decided to enroll in the EMT program at HCC, and after that, I decided I wanted to become a firefighter. Well, I called my dad and told him I wanted to become a firefighter, and he immediately posed me with the question, well, how much is that? So I told him it was going to be $4,000, and he said, well, can you get any financial assistance? So I started looking into it, and you basically, all the ones I actually could have gotten, you basically can't have a bachelor's degree because first generation students, you're omitted from it if you have a degree. So I went on HCC's website and clicked on financial assistance under the Fire Academy page, and I found that they were offering a scholarship. I didn't really qualify in every aspect because you need to be like in a certain part of Tampa, and so I just said whatever and I applied anyways. And a couple days later, I actually received an email that I got it, and I was shocked. I did not think I was going to get the scholarship. While going through the Fire Academy, I experienced a lot of difficult times. But I just kept telling myself, you're awarded the scholarship and you're going to get through it and you're going to make them proud. Here I am, 4 months later, a state certified firefighter. At graduation, I was even recognized and received the Best Overall Student Award. Investing in the education of young adults across America, and especially within your own community, is critical. We are the future. Being a student on scholarships throughout college has given me a different outlook. I viewed every day as a gift and class as an opportunity and a blessing. I never took a single day for granted, and I worked my butt off to obtain my degree. College is a huge investment for a family. Lino Sajasani posted a statistic in the U.S. News blog that the annual family income of more than 47% of undergraduates is less than $40,000 a year. For many families in our communities, it is almost impossible to send their children to college without financial assistance. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for investing in my future, and ask that you continue investing in students' lives to better our community and to help other students fulfill their dreams as you have helped me fulfill mine. Thank you for your time.
It's such a pleasure to have Elizabeth this morning, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Firefighter.
Thank you, Joyce. You've just heard Elizabeth's compelling story and are about to hear Chris Brown's. These are just two of the many examples where donor dollars are improving the lives of students and, in turn, strengthening the culture of our community. I know it has been said before, but may I add my gratitude to what has been said, and once again publicly thank our donors who bring these stories to life. While Elizabeth and Chris's stories are very different in many respects, they share some themes that you will find are common to most of our scholarship recipients. Every life story is unique, but the stories of struggle, setbacks, determination, dogged persistence, and ultimate achievement, sometimes against all odds, are inspiring and give all of us hope. I met Chris last year at a conference where he was the keynote speaker. I was so impressed by his presentation that I asked him to lunch a few weeks later so that I could learn more about him. What I learned made me want to bring him here today, and I want you to settle in so that you can really enjoy his story. And as you do that, let me highlight just a few of his many achievements. And if I went through all of them, you'd be here the rest of the day. Chris was the president of the Berkeley Law Research and Information Nexus, the Berkeley Journal of International Law, Berkeley Technology Journal. He attended Oxford University as an exchange student. He was the head delegate twice for the Harvard National Model United Nations. He's in the who's who among American college students. He was on the All-Florida academic team, and he was a Collegiate All-American Scholar Award winner. And that's just a few. I'll let Chris tell you about his schooling and about his fascinating life. But he's just completed his first year as an associate with the law firm of Trenum Kemker. It's one of Tampa's top law firms, where his practice areas include commercial litigation, intellectual property, trademark and copyright protection, and computer software and systems litigation. Please take a deep breath Enjoy your breakfast, and join me in welcoming Chris Brown.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, feedback. That's nice. I appreciate all of you taking the time to be here today. I know it's always a challenge, and particularly on a work day, to get up so early, and for some of us, drive quite a distance to get only stuck in traffic, but ultimately end up where you need to be. It's a full room, and I thank you. Listening to Elizabeth, I realized exactly what Farouk just said, is that it seems a lot of the stories, and in particular the one I'm about to tell you about myself, there's significant similarities. And I can say, getting to know a lot of the students who were on the same path as me at HCC, I knew that I was certainly not operating in a vacuum. But the truth is that even the most complex concepts, they're dwarfed by even the simplest emotions. And so understanding these stories, I think, is key, and there's an echo, is key in understanding why it is that you should take that deep breath and then, frankly, stick your hand in your pocket and help these students. I was born in Jersey City, 1980, which for some is a long time ago, which for some is not a long time ago. But 1980 in Jersey City was certainly not Hyde Park. It was a challenging time. I lived in a ghetto across the street from a medical center called Montgomery. Lived in the 8th floor, and I could see both the Statue of Liberty and the World Trade Center from my grandmother's bedroom. I had no idea where I lived when I was a kid, because I was a kid. I was happy. Didn't really matter what was going on. I lived a happy life. I had a wonderful family, and it was only as I got older and realized that a lot of the friends that I had then, they simply were not there anymore. And I didn't know why. Turns out, some of them ended up dead. Some of them ended up in jail. Some of them I have no idea because they just disappeared. But that's the reality that I lived in. It was me, my mom, my grandmother, 2 uncles, my aunt. It's a relatively small family, but now it's even smaller. It's just me and 1 uncle. The rest are gone. No one in my family that I know has lived over 55. I'm hoping that I'll break that trend. I'm 34, so I'm doing okay so far, I think. I moved to Florida when I think it was the second year of elementary school. My mom met my stepdad. The guy was in the Navy. He was a really tough dude for a Navy guy. I was in the Army. No offense, folks. But he taught me about morals. He taught me about the complexity of having a life that oftentimes is complex. One thing about the Navy that I understood was that there is oftentimes significant absence. When you're on a ship, you spend a lot of time away from home. You spend a lot of time doing really cool things that I thought were really cool when I was a kid. Top Gun was awesome. I wanted to be a pilot. That didn't happen, but that's cool. When we moved to Florida, we moved to Central Florida. So I didn't come to Tampa until my dad retired and transitioned had a civilian job at MacDill. But when I first moved here, it was in the Florida that is basically South Georgia. And being a black and Puerto Rican dude, that was not exactly the most fun time to be in elementary school. I dealt with incessant racism, but that's just par for the course. Tampa, on the other hand, was it was a big change for me. Moving from Central Florida here opened my eyes to significantly more freedom. I had more friends. I I was able to be out and about without fear of being strung up in a tree. Went to Gaither High School and joined the Navy Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. My dad was proud, not so proud when my favorite recruiter told me that I could become a military policeman in the United States Army, and I did that. I spent my time mostly in the Midwest. I did my basic training in AIT in Missouri, and afterwards I was stationed at the United States Disciplinary Barracks in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. For those of you who don't know, the Castle, the USDB, is the only maximum security prison in the United States military. It houses folks who've done all the bad things. The things that make the news, they may go to the USDB. The things that don't make the news, they go to the USDB. These are the bad folks. I was 19. That's where I grew up. Uncle Sam and a whole bunch of inmates who had been in service a lot longer than me, who called me Sarge when I was a kid. That was tough, but it was real life. While I was there, I joined the Kansas Funeral Detail, who, as some of you may be aware, does the honors funerals for fallen soldiers. And I did that in Kansas and Missouri. That was probably the most sobering experience of my life, because when you are burying people who are your age because of things that are completely out of their control, out of your control, it makes you really reflect on your own existence. After leaving service, I moved back here to Tampa. This is home. This is where my family was. But the unfortunate reality of military separation is that I really had no skills except to carry a gun. I didn't want to be a cop anymore, but what did I do? I became a private investigator. And I wasn't the private investigator who snoops and takes pictures through windows. I did federal anti-piracy assignments, which basically means that I busted sports bars for illegally playing prize fights and things like that. But it was a good job, it was good pay, but it was really lonely work. Ultimately, my wife and I realized that although we were doing okay, we weren't quite doing well enough to put enough food on the table and to take care of our child. At the time, 2 years old, my daughter, Veronica, is the most extraordinary human being on the planet. I'm sorry for your kids, but it's just the truth. I didn't have anyone in my life to tell me, hey, Chris, go to college. It just never dawned on me. But ultimately, we realized that something had to be done. We didn't have the money for me to even think of going to USF, or to me, that was fancy school. I had no path. And I applied to go to HCC. I did take the SAT. Didn't realize I didn't have to take the SAT, but that's cool. I went to HCC, and I spoke to a counselor about what it is that I can do with my skill set and do better for myself and for my family. And my guidance was, we don't know, you need to find that out for yourself. Here's a catalog of classes. What do you have an interest in? So I took public speaking my first semester. A lot of people wait till the last semester. I don't know why. People are nervous to talk in public. Fact is it doesn't matter how comfortable you are, you're always nervous when you talk in public, so you might as well just get the skill set out of the way. For those of you who haven't taken public speaking, I'm talking to HCC students here. Take it. All right? Well, my first semester, public speaking, philosophy, English 1. My public speaking professor, who was also a professor in the honors program, took me aside after the first speech, and he said, I was very impressed by your topic, which was it was grotesque. It was about war, but it was really cool. He said, have you ever considered taking honors classes? I didn't even realize HCC had an honors program. And a couple of weeks later, I met Lydia over there. Hey, Lydia. And she said, sure, why don't you do this? Next semester, I started in the honors program, And it changed my life. I went from having zero guidance to being surrounded by people who had my best interests in mind. Walking in here today, I was once again surprised. I'm always surprised every time I'm around these professors and incredible professionals about how nurturing they are, both to me, who I've graduated some time ago, and all the other students who are currently in the program. You don't get that at the bigger universities. It's a fact. There's so many people, the bureaucracy gets so massive that sometimes the little human details, the students sometimes get lost in that vast process. At HCC, it was a very different experience for me. I had the GI Bill, which helped, but it wasn't enough when I was devoting myself to classes and to ensuring that my child was doing well. She wasn't quite in school yet, so I was a stay-at-home dad until she started preschool. We didn't have enough money to make ends meet, and it was a real struggle just to pay for books, which they're very expensive. And you guys know. And if it wasn't for the generous benefactors, some of whom may even be in this room, the scholarships I received helped to make those ends meet and made a significant difference. The difference being that I could actually focus on my studies and not have to get that late night job. I got good grades. As a result, I was able to do the extracurricular academic activities like Model UN and being able to actually involve myself in the process of really moving things forward for myself academically. The fact is, it's not so simple for most students to be able to juggle all of those responsibilities. And in any way that we can help alleviate some of those problems, we have an opportunity and an obligation to do that. Fact is, students like Elizabeth and myself, we're not unique. Our stories are replicated among many of the students who travel through HCC. And it is through generous donations that assist in the creation of scholarships that help these students that really makes the difference. When I was at HCC, I didn't know initially what I was going to do with myself. It was just a first step. But it's because of HCC that I was able to go to Oxford, that I was able to go to UT, that I was able to go to UC Berkeley, and that I'm an attorney at Trentham Kemker. You have some envelopes at your tables. I realize that many of you have already made donations, and they are greatly appreciated. I encourage you to consider donating again, and more importantly, taking those envelopes and taking them to like-minded people who want to invest in this community, in its students, and to ensure that all ships float. Please consider taking those to your friends, to your families, to your coworkers. And again, thank you very much for being here this morning. I appreciate your time.
I want to thank, in particular, Elizabeth and Chris for taking the time to be here today. It's a wonderful thing when we have alumni that remember the college and come back and want to help others as they have been helped. And I want to just add my thanks to those that have already been expressed, particularly for the faculty and staff, because without committed faculty and staff, the students wouldn't get the benefit of a good education. And I think that's sometimes easy to overlook.
I want to add my thanks for your attendance this morning. I know for some of you it might have been fairly difficult on the highway, but gosh, we have a full room right now. Please continue to enjoy your breakfast. They have asked me to ask you to leave your name tags on the table, and also those donor cards. They're available with a pen. So again, we appreciate your support. We appreciate our scholarship donors. That's why we're here today. I cannot thank you enough, and we'll see you next time.